Zone coverage 2-minute drill. Sam Ekstrom, Luke Inman, Matthew Collar of 1500 ESPN joining us. Make sure to subscribe to zonecoverage.com, $2.99 a month, $19.99 for a full year. Today we see again the iteration of Edison at center, Isidore and Compton at guard. The interior of the line has gone to 3 backups in the last 3 days with Nick Easton's recent injury. What does this mean for the future, Luke?
Well, do we hit the panic button already? We've seen the last 2 and even 3 seasons how detrimental it can be losing 1 or even 2 big names on this offensive line. Obviously, they're going to try to take things slow, probably a precaution at this point with a lot of these guys, but to see a lot of red behind a lot of these names already, Pat Elflein going in, Easton, you mentioned some other names. It's concerning because, again, coming out of the draft, I don't think a lot of people felt very confident that they filled the need for that last big guy in the rotation.
Maybe it's a good thing that it's happening now as opposed to happening week 1, but this almost gives you a window into what it could be if this all goes wrong. And it doesn't look very good. Basically, if you're having to get down to Cornelius Edison, a guy that was on the practice squad, and then, get into Tom Compton, who's a career backup, and you feel like you have multiple positions where you're not solid at all, that's like the nightmare scenario for this team. That's the one, like you said, on draft night that we all laid out. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's a bunch of guys on the offensive line get hurt because it's the only real weakness that this team has on this roster.
Yeah, it hijacked them in 2016, and they had 7 different combinations on the line in the final 12 games last year, and I think it finally came back to bite them in that game against Philadelphia. Moving to the kickers, Kai Forbath outkicks Daniel Carlson today. Mike Prefer said earlier that they were actually even in their kicks during training camp thus far, and Forbath taking the lead today. So, is this battle getting a little closer than we thought?
I certainly think it is. I know anytime you use a draft pick on a kicker, it's easy to assume they're going to win the job regardless of how they play in camp. But, bringing a guy like Kai Forbath in, a seasoned veteran, you hear it all the time under this regime, competition brings out the best in a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and this seems like it's a really legit competition. I mean, on draft night, I would have said, no way Kai Forbath is on this team, and maybe even they should cut him and let him go get another job. But since we've seen him out there, I think he's kicked pretty well so far in camp. But what's really going to determine is these preseason games. I mean, if Carlson and Forbath are equal, they might lean Carlson because he's got the bigger leg and he's the guy that they invested a pick in. But if it's not, I think they'll just stay with Forbath, especially considering the history of kickers with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think Mike Zimmer is going to want to take any chances. I think he's the type of head coach to say, I don't care what you spent on him, he's my better kicker, we're going to stick with him.
Forbath fended off a challenger last year. Can he do it again with Carlson? That's the Zone Coverage 2-minute drill. I'm Sam Ekstrom, Luke Inman, Matthew Collar. Talk to you tomorrow.